Jemima Goldsmith, daughter of a British billionaire, has gone to live with Imran in his home city of Lahore. Her husband says his Playboy days are over.
Some love stories are too extraordinary to be contained within the pages of a novel. They spill out into the real world, defying logic, crossing continents, and challenging every expectation society places upon two people from entirely different universes. The story of Jemima Goldsmith and Imran Khan is exactly that kind of story. It is a tale of a golden-haired British heiress raised in the lap of English aristocracy, who surrendered the comfort of her entire world for a charismatic Pakistani cricket legend, nearly twice her age. It is a story of religious conversion, cultural immersion, political storms, and the kind of love that burns so intensely it eventually consumes itself. And perhaps most fascinatingly, it is a story whose echoes are still felt today, 28 years after it all began. To truly understand what this relationship meant, what it cost, and what it left behind, we have to go back to where it all started, to a spring evening in London in 1995, when two extraordinarily different people locked eyes and changed each other's lives forever. Jemima Goldsmith was born on January 30th, 1974, into one of Britain's most storied and wealthy families. Her father, Sir James Goldsmith, was a flamboyant Anglo-French billionaire financier whose fortune and personality were both larger than life. Her mother, Lady Annabel Vane Tempest Stewart, came from genuine British aristocratic stock, and together they raised Jemima in an environment of extraordinary privilege, intellectual curiosity, and old-world elegance. Growing up between grand country estates and the sophisticated drawing rooms of London's finest neighborhoods, Jemima was schooled in the finest institutions, moved through high society with effortless grace, and by her early 20s was already considered one of Britain's most beautiful and well-connected young women. She possessed something rarer than beauty, however. She had genuine intellectual sharpness, a warm and searching empathy, and a restless spirit that yearned for meaning beyond the gilded world she had been born into. Imran Khan, meanwhile, was already a legend by the time their paths crossed. Born on October 5, 1952, in Lahore, Pakistan, into a respectable Pashtun family, Imran had risen to become not merely a cricketer, but a national icon. He had captained Pakistan's cricket team to their first and only World Cup victory in 1992, a moment of triumph so profound that it elevated him to the status of a living national hero in his homeland. Educated at Oxford University's Keble College, he was equally comfortable in the corridors of British high society as he was on the cricket pitches of Karachi. His reputation as a charming, fiercely intelligent, and devastatingly handsome man had made him a fixture in London's most glamorous social circles for years. But beneath the Playboy image that tabloids so enthusiastically cultivated, there is a man in the midst of a deep personal transformation, increasingly driven by Islamic faith, by a burning desire to fight corruption, and by a vision of a new Pakistan that he believed only he could help create. When these two remarkable individuals met at a dinner party in London in early 1995, the spark was immediate and undeniable. Jemima was 21 years old. Imran was 42. To the outside world, the pairing seemed improbable at best and reckless at worst. But those who witnessed their early courtship described a genuine and powerful connection, a meeting of curious and passionate minds that transcended the obvious differences in age, background, and culture. Imran was captivated by Jemima's rare combination of beauty and intellectual depth. Jemima was drawn to Imran's intensity, his idealism, and the sense that he was a man genuinely wrestling with questions of faith, justice, and purpose in a way that felt both ancient and urgently modern. Within weeks, Imran proposed marriage, and Jemima, in what many of her friends described as a breathtakingly brave leap of faith, said yes. Their engagement, announced in the spring of 1995, sent shockwaves rippling through both British and Pakistani society simultaneously, though for very different reasons. In London, the tabloid press erupted. Newspapers ran photographs of the radiant young heiress alongside the silver-templed cricket star, with a mixture of fascination and barely disguised skepticism. Columnists questioned whether a 21-year-old woman from one of England's wealthiest families truly understood what she was getting herself into. In Pakistan, the reaction was equally intense but more divided. Some celebrated the match as proof of Imran's extraordinary appeal and Pakistan's ability to attract the world's finest. Others viewed it with deep suspicion, questioning whether a Western woman, no matter how willing, could ever truly belong within the fabric of Pakistani culture and Islamic tradition. Jemima's own family received the news with a mixture of love and quiet anxiety. Her father, Sir James Goldsmith, was famously ambivalent, reportedly quipping that Imran might make a very fine first husband for his daughter, a remark that was both affectionate and pointed. Her mother, Lady Annabel, was more openly supportive, though those close to her acknowledged that she privately worried about the enormous cultural and personal adjustment her daughter was about to undertake at such a young age. The wedding itself unfolded in two distinct ceremonies that perfectly reflected the dual worlds the couple straddled. The first was an intimate Islamic nikah ceremony held at the Ritz Hotel in Paris in May 1995, where Jemima, having formally converted to Islam, took the Arabic name Haika, meaning truthful and sincere. She appeared in traditional white and gold Pakistani dress, her head covered, softly reciting the Arabic phrases of the marriage contract with a solemnity that moved even the most skeptical observers. The second ceremony was a civil celebration held at Ormley Lodge, the Goldsmith family's spectacular estate in Richmond, where British aristocrats, celebrities, and close friends gathered to celebrate. Among the guests was Princess Diana, one of Jemima's closest and most admired friends, who offered the young bride words of counsel rooted in her own hard-won experience of navigating the crushing pressures of a high-profile marriage under relentless public scrutiny. Jemima would return to those words many times in the difficult years ahead. After the celebrations faded and the last guest departed, the real work of building a life together began, and it began in Lahore. Jemima packed up her London existence and transplanted herself into a world that was beautiful, vibrant, overwhelming, and profoundly foreign. The Zaman Park residence in Lahore, where Imran's extended family lived together under one roof, according to deep-rooted Pakistani tradition, became her new home. She threw herself into the challenge with admirable determination. She began studying Urdu, wrestling with its flowing script and unfamiliar grammatical structures. She replaced her Western wardrobe with elegant shower chemises in fine cotton and rich silk. She attended lectures on Islamic theology and history at some of Lahore's most respected institutions, determined that her conversion would be genuine and informed rather than merely ceremonial. But the challenges were formidable and relentless. Pakistani society, particularly its conservative circles, observed Jemima with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism that never entirely softened into acceptance. Imran's sisters were guardians of family tradition and expectation, and Jemima frequently found herself navigating an intricate web of cultural obligations that ranged from hosting elaborate family dinners to managing a large household staff to maintaining the precise standard of modesty and deportment expected of a prominent politician's wife. Meanwhile, British tabloids continued their own relentless commentary from afar, with headlines that swung between mockery and pity, painting her as either a naive aristocrat playing at being Pakistani or a lost young woman trapped in a culture she could never truly join. Through all of it, Jemima demonstrated a resilience and adaptability that surprised even her critics. She insisted on speaking Urdu at home, even when her vocabulary failed her. She traveled with Imran to campaign events in rural Pakistan, enduring the heat and dust and chaos that most women of her background would have found impossible. She wrote extensively about Pakistan for British publications, crafting nuanced and empathetic pieces that challenged Western audiences to see the country beyond its stereotypes. She genuinely believed in Imran's political vision and saw her role not merely as his wife, but as a bridge between the two worlds she now inhabited. For a time, that sense of purpose sustained her through the loneliness and the cultural disorientation. But sustaining it over years, as Imran became ever more consumed by politics and ever less present at home, would prove to be another matter entirely. In November 1996, Jemima gave birth to their first son, Suleiman Isa Khan. The choice of name was deeply meaningful, combining the Quranic name for the wise King Solomon with Isa, the Quranic name for Jesus, a deliberate and loving reflection of the spiritual convergence Jemima felt her life embodied. The birth of Suleiman was a moment of profound joy for both parents, a tangible symbol of the life they were building together across the fault lines of culture and religion. Their second son, Qasim Khan, followed in April 1999, and for a brief time the family felt complete and full of possibility. But the world pressing in around them was growing increasingly turbulent. Imran formally launched Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, his political party, in a massive rally at Lahore's iconic Minar-e-Pakistan in 1996, declaring his mission to rid Pakistan of corruption and rebuild its moral foundations. The political project consumed him utterly. He traveled ceaselessly, fundraising, campaigning, and rallying support across the country. The household atmosphere grew increasingly politicized. Jemima found herself functioning essentially as a single parent in practice, managing her son's education, health, and emotional lives while Imran was absent for days and sometimes weeks at a stretch. The easy intimacy of their early relationship gave way to conversations that were rare and strained. She later acknowledged in private correspondence that she began to feel less like a partner and more like a spectator in a drama she had not fully understood when she signed on for it. The late 1990s brought an escalating barrage of controversies that targeted both of them with increasing ferocity. Jemima was accused by right-wing political commentators and some religious figures of being a foreign agent, a dangerous outsider working against Pakistan's interests. The allegations were baseless and transparently politically motivated, but in Pakistan's charged and fractious political climate, they gained traction and caused genuine damage. Fiery voices called for her Pakistani citizenship, which she had obtained in 1998, to be revoked. The bitter irony of a woman who had sacrificed so much of her former life to embrace Pakistan being branded its enemy was not lost on those who knew her personally. Then came additional accusations related to the alleged improper export of antique tiles, charges that were flimsy on their face, but that proved devastating in terms of public perception. Jemima maintained her innocence throughout, but the experience of being